chat portion of Morning Coffee on Radio Vision Network. This morning, we've got Sarah Rabinez Magnoni of the Labrador Hill Sanctuary. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what is Labrador Hill Sanctuary?
Labrador Hill is a permanent sanctuary for over 60 horses, donkeys, ponies, and mules with a dual commitment to both the preservation of life and a humane education program.
Okay. So, you said you have over 60
Yes.
animals there, and you're talking about humane treatment, and also you're involved in some horse training as it deals with people who have various problems. So how did this get started?
The long story is that I grew up going with my father to ranches out west. So I learned to ride and to relate to horses in a truly Western tradition. It was very open, there was lots of space. The horses were primarily relaxed and low-key trail horses, and I loved the land. I still love the land. I love open space. So I always had animals growing up. When my daughter, who is now 20, was about 4, she asked me for some riding lessons, and of course we were living in New Jersey. I took her to a local stable and was just absolutely horrified by the rigidity and of the system, the boredom and the unpleasantness of the horse's experience. I knew it intuitively. I could see it in the way that they were behaving. And at the time, I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know how to resolve that. I just knew that I had to create something better, a better system to teach my daughter at that point about living with these animals, and that was the birth of Labrador Hill Sanctuary.
Now, you mentioned already the humane treatment, and I've been to dude ranches, and it seems like they do take care of the horses and what have you, but obviously from your statement, there's a lot that goes into that. And can you talk to us a little bit about what humane treatment means?
Well, the basis for our horsemanship program is, and I did not invent this process, it's an ancient process. It's something called feel-based or natural or humane horsemanship. And the premise of this program is that the horse has autonomy, has a choice, has the right to say no, which I'm sure you've experienced as a rider many times.
Yes.
And the idea is to teach people that that is not only the horse's right, but the horse's responsibility as a prey animal, as opposed to you. You're a predator. As nice as you are, you're still a predator. The horse's first priority is survival. So when a horse is not doing what a person expects them to do, it's because the horse is protecting his life, quite literally protecting his life. When people come to Labrador Hill, what they learn to do is leave their plans at the gate. And what happens...
When you say plans, what do you...
Whatever their agenda was when they walked in the gate, the only thing that matters is the horse's reality. So whatever the horse happens to be doing at that moment, it's the person's responsibility to adjust to that first.
Okay.
Then you can ask the horse, do you want to do X, Y, and Z? So whether that includes riding or veterinary work or farrier work, it doesn't really matter. It's the horse's space. You walk into that space, and it's your job as a predator to acknowledge that his job is to actually escape from you. So you have to convince him that this is okay and it's safe.
Because you always hear the statement, well, you got to show the horse who's going to be boss, and that sounds
It's
completely
actually,
counter to what you're saying.
it is and it isn't. I have to qualify that. Yes, it is on one level. Once you are in the horse's universe, you learn in a good horsemanship program, which I like to think ours is, you learn how to behave like a horse. In any herd, there is a herd leader, and that's for the herd's protection. So when you walk into the paddock, you and that horse are a herd. It's your job to be a good leader for your horse, which doesn't mean domination. What it means is being a good teacher for the horse, helping the horse to understand what it is you're saying, because of course they don't speak English. They speak their own language, which is all body language.
I was going to say, you're talking about having the horse communicate its needs, and I don't think it can talk English.
It's all communication. The entire program is about communication. So once the person walks in and says, okay, I don't know whether we're going to ride today because I don't know whether this horse is going to give me permission to do that. Having said that, almost everybody rides when they come to the sanctuary, but they've got to ask permission, and the horse has to give permission. And if the horse doesn't give permission, then we do something else that day.
Okay, so does it hold up a sign that says, no, I'm not going, or how does it communicate?
In his own way, yes, that's exactly what they do. And when you learn as a student to read the horse's behavior, that's quite literally precisely what happens. The horse will actually say, I don't like this, I'm okay with this, please stay away from there, don't get near there. And they're very clear about it. And as a matter of fact, I would have to say that probably 95% of all horse accidents happen because people have not read the signals the horse has given them long before they ever get on their backs. So it's pretty easy to read that behavior once you know what you're looking at.
We're going to come back and talk
Sure.
about this more. How, now, you have a physical facility,
Yes.
correct? And where's that facility located?
It's in Waterford, which is the southeastern corner of Camden County. So we're about 5-10 minutes from Hamilton.
Okay.
And we're part of ATGO, the
Okay.
municipality of ATGO.
And how did you have 60 horses, mules, etc., come to your facility?
All kinds of different ways. We often get calls from people who are monitoring kill auctions.
Okay, help us out.
Okay. There are many kill auctions in the United States. There are several on the East Coast, and there's a whole group of people, animal activists, who try to buy horses from kill buyers who are going to send them to slaughter. And we're kind of at the end of that line of people as a last resort for animals who people are working to get out and they don't have any place to send them, and we will offer sanctuary to those animals. So that's one way that we get them.
We need to take a break, and we'll come back and finish talking about the auctions and how the animals come to you after our break. This is Ira Weissman with Morning Coffee, the nonprofit chat section. Come back and hear the rest of our discussions in a couple minutes.
Simply Gents, located in Marlton, New Jersey, takes care of all your grooming needs, including haircuts, straight razor shaves, massages, facial, manicures, pedicures, and waxing. To find more information or book an appointment, visit us online at www.simplygents.com. The secret weapon of a well-groomed man, Simply Gents.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at alicia@whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
Back with our morning coffee nonprofit chat section, and we're talking with Sarah Rabinowitz-Agnoni of the Labrador Hill Sanctuary, and they are a sanctuary for horses and donkeys and other equines. And we're just starting to talk about that you are a port of last resort for many of these animals, and you were talking about the kill auctions. What is a kill auction?
It's not necessarily called a kill auction, but all auctions are a bad place in this country for horses to be, because we are shipping 160,000 of them to Canada and Mexico to be slaughtered.
Now, they're being slaughtered for what reasons?
They are being slaughtered for meat to be sold in Belgium, France, Italy, Russia, Japan, not in the United States, but there actually recently was a food scandal in Europe, massive, where horse meat was showing up in packaged lasagna and all kinds of other commercial products. I believe in not slaughtering horses because I don't believe in slaughtering any animal, frankly.
Okay.
So I don't differentiate between horses and pigs and cows, etc. I'm obviously a vegetarian. But kill auctions are auctions at which kill buyers, these are people who are shipping horses, buying them and shipping them to slaughter, will outbid a private buyer.
Okay.
They buy by the pound, and it's very, very dangerous. I would definitely not recommend that anybody who needs to rehome a horse send them to auction. It's just a very, very bad situation for them.
All right, so let's change the subject
Yes.
just a little bit. I can see how tense you're getting. So, besides the auctions as a last resort, how else do you get your animals?
People very often either run out of funds and they know they're not going to be able to support their animals anymore, so they'll come to me and say, I will give you a placement fee if you will take this elderly or disabled or in some other way behaviorally unsound animal, and we do that all the time. So I have horses who have come to me because other places have gone into foreclosure. People have had their property seized. They're in the middle of a divorce, and they can't keep their horse. There are all kinds of reasons. I have horses who come because the SPCA asks me to take them because they've been seized from various bad situations.
I think there was a situation about a year ago where they closed down a farm or what have you because the horses were mistreated.
And we have 2 of those horses, actually. That's another source. So they come from all kinds of places, actually.
So, in some cases, it sounds like they're abused. Other cases, people just can't support them.
They just can't
anymore.
support them, right? Exactly.
And I know
exactly.
when we looked into it years ago about the possibility of getting one, the costs are extremely high, especially related to the vet care too.
Mm-hmm. It's about the national average is about $1,200 a year for a horse.
That's just medical?
No, actually, that's just feed and hay.
Okay.
So that doesn't actually include veterinary care or farrier work. So our costs for our herd are about, just to feed and maintain them, are about $70,000 a year for the entire herd.
So for the entire herd?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's about what'd you say, you have 60?
Yeah, it's a little bit over 60, yeah.
so it's about $1,000 a
Mhm.
year for each horse.
Yes.
Now, you have the animals, you provide medical, you provide housing for them, but you also do some sort of training with them. And can you tell us about some of those programs?
Well, the training, do you mean the training for the horses?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Um, I would have to say that horses who come to us with issues that other people have been unable to solve, that is to say,
Okay.
behavioral issues, all kinds of issues with being handled, etc. Almost all of those problems are solved simply by putting them in the herd and in the natural environment of the herd, because I don't have a barn,
Okay.
so everybody lives out 100% of the time, and their interrelationships with each other create a sense of security and a holistic health, which makes their communications with human beings 100% better, almost instantaneously. Everyone who comes to the sanctuary comments on how friendly and sociable the animals are.
Okay.
And I would love to give myself credit for that, but I think it's the herd. It's definitely living out in the herd that does. It is their natural way to live. Without being enclosed, they communicate with each other, and we don't separate them from each other. So I don't adopt out. We have an
Okay.
on-site adoption program. People can sponsor animals,
Okay.
but they don't leave once they
Okay,
come. They
once
don't
they
leave.
come in.
Mhm.
I didn't know if you got a number of horses where it was just where the people couldn't afford to keep them, that if somebody said, oh, I have an interest in
We're
adopting a horse, you would allow them, but it sounds like, no, it's keeping the herd together.
not at this point. Maybe when I'm 90 or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll probably still be doing this when I'm 90. But I really believe in the herd providing most of what the horses need intellectually and emotionally, which goes to your question about training. And again, that's the basis for our human education program, which is that it's in understanding what horses need from each other that people are able to establish good working relationships with them, which could include riding, it could include a whole bunch of things. Therapy, we were talking
Okay.
about that.
And so, if I should come out to your sanctuary and I want to learn more about horses, what do I do, and what kind of programs do you have?
We have a natural horsemanship program, which is open to everybody, ages 2 to adult. Lesson packages, we have shorter lessons for very young children. We have lessons for special needs students. We have a humane horsemanship / mentorship program, which we've just started, for people who are doing life coaching, who want to include horses in their coaching practices. We have group lessons primarily for adults, and all of those lessons basically start with the premise that you will introduce yourself to the horse on the ground first.
Okay. Because growing up when I did, I'm going to date myself, it was the Lone Ranger,
Yes.
Wild Bill Hickok, and all of the Western type movies where you saw them running out of wherever,
Leaping
leaping
onto
on
their
the horse and
yes.
hi-ho silver
I
and
love that
away.
stuff. Everybody loved that stuff.
Yeah.
A comment on that, the really great movie directors and television directors who worked with horses actually really knew what they were doing. And there are a lot of people who are not so great. John Ford knew what he was doing, for instance, who directed John Wayne, obviously, in many, many movies, never had an accident. The bottom line is, in order to do that, you need a relationship with that animal. And what we work on is the relationship.
Mm.
So however long that takes.
Okay, well, Again, we've come up at a time, we've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the programs you have,
Okay,
and we'll talk about some of the events you have coming up.
great.
This is Ira Weissman with the nonprofit chat portion of Morning Coffee. Come back in about 2 minutes, and we'll continue our discussions with Sarah about the Labrador Hill Sanctuary.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Nonprofit chat portion of Morning Coffee. Again, we have Sarah Rabinowitz-Magnoni from the Labrador Hill Sanctuary, and we're just starting to talk about some of the programs, especially special programs where you're working with special needs individuals, and we were talking a little bit about the EGALA program, so can you tell us about those?
I'll deal with EGALA first. It's Equine Assisted Growth and Learning,
Okay.
and it is an organization that was started by psychotherapists who felt that horses were absolutely wonderful in therapeutic situations with their clients. So they created a program to train people to work with psychotherapy clients in an arena with horses who are at liberty, that is to say they don't have any equipment on, and it's all unmounted. There's no riding in this program.
Okay.
And the idea is to stimulate somebody who is a trauma victim, for instance, to tell his or her story through the horse.
Okay.
The horse is basically a medium, and it's been phenomenally successful. People who are very threatened by being asked, how do you feel about that? And being asked to speak directly about their trauma very often can communicate through the horse, who is, of course, totally non-verbal. And it's a wonderful program, really wonderful program. So that's available. I work with a mental health specialist, either a social worker or a psychotherapist. And those clients can be special needs students. They can be autistic, have Asperger's, PTSD, anxiety, all kinds of conditions.
Okay, you mentioned PTSD, and I noticed on your website you talk about working with veterans
Yes.
also,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big issue right now.
Well, and it's the same process that somebody who has experienced a huge amount of trauma finds just being in the presence of these animals immensely therapeutic. So the sessions are fairly unstructured, and I would have to say that although this is about people who are currently seeing therapists, the same process occurs for the average person who walks into the space with these animals. That somehow the stresses that we as human beings experience on a daily basis just disappear. And no one can really quite identify why, but it happens for everybody. So it's very, very useful for anybody who has communication difficulties.
Now, you mentioned the EGALA program. You said you also have another program that you're doing.
We have a standard special needs program, which is basically an adaptation of the natural horsemanship program to people with special needs, either disabled people, again, autistic, people with Asperger's, and again, I think the prime issue there is communication, and using the horse's nonverbal communication to stimulate communication breakthroughs in the student.
Well, we're getting down to the end of our time, and I think we could, you mentioned it's another 3 hours of
That's
discussion.
right. Just
but
keep me here.
I'm not sure that we can do that. Why don't you tell us where you're located, how people can contact you, and you've got a kind of unique event coming up, I think, next week, isn't it?
We do. On Sunday, we are holding an interfaith Passover Seder to support the sanctuary, and this is in conjunction with the ASPCA April Help a Horse month. So as a
Do the
result,
horses get matzah?
they are going to get matzah. Yes,
I'm not sure that's being humane to them.
No, it's unleavened, but it's fine. No, they love anything crunchy. They're very happy with that kind of thing. They are going to get matzah.
So all the leftover matzah, send it to you.
It's going to the horses. That's right. So we're having the Seder at my house and then walking across the fields to the sanctuary, and we'll be giving the horses carrots and apples and matzah.
Oh,
Definitely.
That sounds great. So your website is what?
The website is www.labradorhill.com, and that is by far the easiest way to reach me.
Okay, let's repeat.
www.labradorhill.com. And
.com or .org?
.com.
Okay.
Yes. We should go to .org. We just didn't get around to doing that. Volunteering, lessons, comments can all be sent directly through the website. It's very easy to navigate, very easy to use.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to having you back. This is Ira Weissman. If you need help with your strategic planning, putting metrics in place, or succession planning, please feel free to reach out to me on my website at www.idea-innovations.com. Thank you very much and have a great day. Goodbye.
And what else do we have, Morris?